Yes, this is John from All Points TV, and while this is the political season, and the people who are frequent viewers or continual viewers of All Points TV, know that we cover, the candidates as best as we can. This is kind of a unique one. This is a husband and wife. They're not, I can't say exactly a team because you're running for different slots, different political positions.
Yep.
But I think this is the first time I've ever had in the studio a husband and wife pairing in there that's actually getting involved in politics. This is both of your first time in a foray into politics, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, we'll go into that. Sherri J. Cross is a candidate for the 48th District State House seat, and Jerry Cross is a candidate for the Genesee County Commission, or 3rd District. And we didn't get a map of that, but we do have a map of what your area encompasses, where you would, if you get elected, what you'd be representing.
Right.
And we'll go on from there. But first of all, both of you are coming from, I heard you guys talking to each other, plus I interviewed your husband slightly before you came on, and he's involved in different things for his career path. He has several careers, and so as well as you do.
Yeah.
Okay, all that, and both of those are all you got jobs. It could be pretty lucrative. So you're actually going into something that is an unknown, and it's also scary.
Chapter.
Right.
That's what I call it. It's a new chapter in my life.
Right. So anyway, by the way, the sound you're hearing, by the way, people, is an air conditioning unit we're running, because it's like our studio gets so warm this time of year. So that's what you hear.
If it's not running, you might hear a thud on the floor from me passing out from the heat.
Right. So anyway, we're going to get into this. We'll go back and forth. So I can try to give you equal time. So, well, first of all, Jerry is he has different businesses he's worked for. He had a career. How many years did you work for the company?
30 years.
For the phone company, right?
AT&T, SBC, Cable Splicer, did quite a bit of different jobs all over the place with them.
Yeah, you're still doing them. If we're with our initial talk, we'll get into that as well. It's kind of interesting. And Sherri, you're also kind of like, well, I guess you and I have something in common, because, well, maybe I'm not to the level, because you're involved in radio.
Yeah.
And
community service.
Yeah.
Did a community service show for over 20 years. I'm a former deputy sheriff, and I was doing community service even as a teenager. When I got into law enforcement, our sheriff said to everybody, you will give 2 hours of your time, community service. Everybody would, and I love it. And I'm still doing it at this age. So I got over 40 years of doing community service, and I've loved it.
So you got a unique background. I was talking to you earlier, a few days ago before we were setting this up, and you were involved in. You actually know quite a bit about the migrant workers, and you know about you also, that kind of pulls into draws you into the immigration debate.
Yes, it does.
It's a big issue right now, so it helps that she's got the background in it.
Well, what people don't know is why I have this background is because I was married once to an illegal, that's how I call it, an illegal immigrant. He had been at least deported by the law 12 times, but that's not how many times he actually got into the country without getting caught. And I understand exactly why they're doing it today. I know what it is that they're looking for. I understand what it is that they want, and I understand when people are frustrated, and they got every reason to be frustrated. When I explain to them what life was like living as a migrant and what it is the migrants want, I find a lot of people from the far left jumping on me and saying that it's hate. It's not hate, it was life. Life experience, 13 years worth of it.
That's more than enough to actually have an awareness of it.
Exactly.
Much more than your critics probably will ever possess.
Exactly.
No, Jerry, from what we're talking about, my initial response was like, you were actively and lucratively employed in these different career paths, and still are employed. I mean, I think that's, you're really a busy person. You're working already 12, 14 hours a day, which is vastly different from most of the politicians that are already elected, because they don't seem to put forth a lot of effort doing anything. But anyway, what prompted? We'll go back and forth. But Jerry, what prompted you to get involved politically?
I've been sitting back watching everything that's been going on in politics for years, but just in the last several years, just things keep going downhill. The unemployment has been improving, but it was just terrible. And you just look back and think there's got to be a better way to fix these things. And it seems like the politicians we have now, their idea is just to put more taxes on, keep throwing money at a problem, and it's just not working. Trump's gotten in and pretty much proven that if you can cut the taxes, kind of restrain the spending, and now look at the economy and unemployment, everything is improving. And we could do that on a local level too. We just have to have people in there that will do it and not just talk about it.
Well, I know that you probably have heard the quote often given by former Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill. He said, all politics is local. And some people don't really realize the true importance, the truth of that. If it's at the grassroots, I mean, they have the precinct person. When I was taking a class, the professor who taught the class in college, he'd always emphasize the precinct worker is the person who is the most powerful political individual in the machine of politics. And people are also dismissive of that. But if you actually look now, even though Trump is a multi-billionaire, during his campaign, he was outspent by Hillary Clinton. We all know the result.
Exactly. So
it's the message.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
people after what the previous 8 years, and people losing their health care, the money they're putting into their health care just keeps climbing. Unemployment, nothing is working. And Hillary came in with the message, yeah, we're going to continue on with what we're doing. You know, it wasn't
scary.
working.
No, we brought in Trump, and I think that's basically from what I'm seeing of this talk with you is that he getting elected seems to be kind of a major salient point for you to be and get involved. Let's address that a little bit. I mean, it's like you've already said something. The critics of you about the immigration say it's hate. It seems like some people always go to the emotional thing.
Exactly.
And if they don't realize, and I don't understand why they would expect everybody to put aside their own concerns for their own existence, and to be so embracing everybody else. If you're not concerned about your own existence, I don't think you're being a rational human being.
Well, here's the thing. I have on my official campaign website, I've literally opened up my life, which I try to keep pretty closed up from doing the radio show that I've been doing and keeping that separate from my personal life at home. Well, I've opened that up, and I've told people, I'm a cancer survivor, and during the time while I was going through my treatment, all I really could do was lay there and watch the news. And then I started educating myself, watching videos from YouTube of professors that are teaching political sciences at universities. And I just started watching them, and I started learning political science. And then Trump said he's running for president. And I said, I kick cancers. You know what? I'm throwing my hat in, I'm running. In fact, I ran right after I'd just been told that I was cancer-free. I went ahead and applied to run as a delegate, and I was elected. But it's not enough. It's to work for the community, work for the people, to do what needs to get done. I can't do it from behind a microphone at the studio for community service, but I can do that when I get to Lansing. I can get out with the community and get stuff done. Just for instance, there's this trailer park over by my home, Shady Acres. That place has been literally falling apart. I don't know what's holding the trailers together. I did a 5-minute video trying to get through the place and showing what was left of it. It looked like several hurricanes had hit it. It was that bad. And let's put it this way, keeping the talk going has now, after 2 months, resulted into the community coming together. A leader, I believe Guerrera, he's the city council, him and another community leader who has stepped up. They've been able to get dumpsters, and they've got a date together where everybody's going to show up. Media's going to be there, and that part is getting cleaned up. So what it goes to show is, if you care about something, show it to the community and keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
And not let it drop.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, it's like you hear something in this local, except for the water crisis. That's still on the
another, that's another hot issue of mine.
But see, Santino Guerra, I think that's the one you're.
Yes.
He's a new guy. He's like really young, and he's a councilman of the area which I live too. And
And he's going to be right out there with the community volunteers, and I think that's awesome. I'm going to go down there and show my support.
He took care of a couple of issues I pointed out and called upon. I'm the former city council person who would never even return my calls. He not only returned I got through Facebook, and he made himself more accessible than the predecessor.
Exactly.
And I think that's cool because he's a younger guy. He understands social media and the importance of that.
Exactly.
And I also, if anybody's listening to Santino Guerra, I'd like to see things develop. I'd like to see him stay on the same course that he is now currently because I think he's responsive and responsible. So anyway, that's my kind of prop for a person that I think has got some promise,
Yeah, because he's taking action and he's letting the community be right there with the community, and that is what the community wants. They're tired of politicians that show their face to get votes, to get money. We haven't received any donations. But we're doing
a few, but nothing.
But
It's nothing yet. I mean, but that's understandable. We're in a county that is pretty low income. We got some of the lowest incomes in the country, so finding extra money to donate to politicians is difficult. But we're going to plod on.
Besides, it can also give to, if they can't give financially, it can always help you canvas and hit the street running and
exactly.
So I also got your I have a thing up here for you, Sherri. It gives your website as also, and you can be reached on Facebook.
Yeah.
And now, do you have that also set up for yourself, Jerry?
I'm still working on it.
We've got the
It's a
Facebook
time issue. I've got a Facebook page, but as it gets closer to into June and July, when more people are starting to pay attention to who's running, I'll have a fully developed page going.
No, that's good. I mean, I remember you were talking just before we walked into the rooms here together, that you the reason why, what prompted you, a large portion of that was to run for the position you're running, is that you saw some potential for misuse of funds that you wanted to address.
A couple. It's the key is that we are mainly running on the fact that we've got more than enough money coming in. I believe I pulled a budget this morning. We're taking in like $880 million, and that should be more than enough money to run all the programs that we have, but yet they're cutting departments. Every department out's asking for more money, and it's just somebody's got to sit down and manage our budget the way any housewife would. You've got a list of stuff that needs to be paid, and here's a list of stuff that we'd like to have. And we need police departments. The police departments have been getting cut in their budget. We need our roads need to be fixed, and it doesn't help with all the damage that the water replacement, they're tearing the roads apart. Those roads are going to have to now be fixed. They're in bad shape. But the money is there. We just have to, I think one of the things that tripped me into it was they voted to spend, they put a bid in for the Sports Creeks Wasteway for $1 million to purchase that property. It's abandoned, but their idea is to turn that into campgrounds and soccer fields, which doesn't generate any money property-wise. It's an ideal spot right off the expressway in an area where it would be perfect for business or high-end residential or whatever. That would generate income, but soccer fields don't generate anything. That's something that we would like to have, but we need other stuff more important. So the county commissioners have got to start, they got to use a little bit more sense of where they're spending the money.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And what it was, I think, in case somebody listening to us or is not aware, Genesee County Commissioners, except for one person on that commission, voted to use funds that were slated to be used for veterans concerns for a golf tournament. And there was pressure put on. They re-voted and took a vote again. And again, then like you were alluding to saying that then these people who had voted for it now then, voted against their former position. And I think basically by them doing that, they're admitting they didn't really think things through. I mean, I just think that's egregious.
If you're going to vote on something and not stand by your vote, that was their second mistake. Their first mistake was thinking that it was a good idea to take money that was dedicated through a millage to go to veterans. One of the commissioners stated, well, one of the reasons they did that is they were sitting on $300,000 in unspent money they had to do something with. I said, so you thought that was a good idea to put that to a golf tournament instead of... The one thing that really got us involved with the veterans is we sat down with a group of them in a restaurant.
No, that was that one old veteran. It was just the one.
Yeah, there were several others there. He was with the group. And we were talking about veterans issues as well. What do you need? What kind of things we need to spend money on? He didn't even think about it. He said, well, we need more than $300 if a veteran dies and they need to be buried. All they'll give them is $300. And he said they need at least 1,000, maybe 1,500, but they just don't have the money. And then I hear that they got $300,000 in unspent money in the veterans millage, which was supposed to be going for just this purpose. So that's what I mean. We got to have somebody in there that's going to start looking at our budget and start making some better decisions.
I don't know if you're aware of this too. Like a few years ago, they had a millage for to continue the funding of Hurley Hospital. Well, everybody's we got to have hospitals. And I mean, initially I was like, we just make the vote. Let's do the vote on it. Yeah, let's get the vote. I want to vote for it. Well, anyway, he found out coupled with that, a large portion of that funds are going to be geared towards another organization. I think it was Uptown Development Group or something like that. I can't remember, so don't quote me on it. But some other organization that basically uses for development of the city or whatever, trying to redevelop properties.
I was going to ask you how far down on the list was the needs at Hurley. Where was Hurley at on that list?
Well, see, and I was like saying, I mean, if you, of course, then again, if you're just the average person saying, I don't think I'm going to vote for this, because you have that knowledge that there was something coupled with that you didn't agree with, or you thought was insanely stupid.
Yeah.
You don't care about the poor people who might not get medical access to medical care. Well, yeah, but why don't we concentrate on medical care rather than this extraneous stuff?
Right.
Or at least
it doesn't make any sense. You remember when they was going to pass the gas tax, and when we were on the radio, Jerry and I actually read the bill, and we were telling people before you vote, read the gas tax bill, because you're going to find that in the bill, some way down toward the bottom of the list was infrastructure, a certain small amount, but
well, back
it was
to
ridiculous.
the amount of money that's being dedicated for the roads and everything, I just recently found out 1% of that was earmarked to go for bike trails and snowmobile trails.
Don't need any more of those.
Well, it's a matter that's a want issue. That is not a need issue.
Yeah, I agree. So I like bicycle paths and stuff like that.
Go up north where the state has beautiful ones and you can see beautiful forest. You're down here in the city.
See, there's some beautiful ones already through. But the thing is, I think the funds should be raised through passing the hat community-wise, be doing fundraisers. I mean, that'd be a great opportunity for people in that work.
For everything.
Either that, or I've always said that by forcing a tax on people, that upsets them. But if there's something that people really want, they would have no trouble passing a millage. A small millage to cover those costs. And that was what the purpose with the veterans millage. We passed a one for seniors to help pay for senior centers. If the public wants something that badly, then they'll have no problem with passing a millage for it. But passing another tax increase or else taking money out of someplace else to cover it, that's a want issue. That's not a need issue. When we're talking with police departments and they're telling us about losing $2 million, or how many was Genesee Township?
Genesee Township
lost a couple $1 million in their funding.
Yep, and they're hurting for new vehicles. They don't have body cams. They don't have dash cams. They need a new toxilizer and a breathalyzer.
Yeah, public safety should be a priority.
And
that's something you need.
And if they have to get somebody's prints ASAP, that's got to go to NCIC in Lansing, they have to take the suspect over to state police post in order to use that specialized fingerprint machine.
And from what I see of this technology you're talking about, especially the fingerprinting one, it isn't. I mean, the ones I've seen used aren't all that expensive. They really aren't. Comparison.
The state tells Genesee Township that they needed a new breathalyzer. I said, "What's wrong with the old one?" He goes, "Nothing." But the state says, after 2 years, they need to upgrade. They can't afford it. It's
a specialized for the live ones that go right into their system. They're a specialized.
No, we're talking about the breathalyzer.
We're talking about scanner.
Right, the scanner. Well, the scanner is the same cost.
They are expensive. The ones they're supposed to use, they're not just.
But they shouldn't have to be upgraded every 2 years when they're that expensive. I mean, they shouldn't have to be replaced.
Staying up with the technology.
They cut back. Like before, they could replace a vehicle at 50,000 miles. Now the state says 150,000 miles. They have 6 vehicles. They all need to be replaced.
Now you talk about Genesee Township?
Yeah.
Well, that would be all of them too. But Genesee Township
Clio's hurting worse. And Clio is very proud to say that they do have 2 armed officers at their schools. That's where Genesee County dropped it years ago, or Genesee Township dropped it years ago because they can't afford it. But everyone's biggest law enforcement, their biggest want and need at the moment is more officers.
Well, how many police cars and officers can you hire with $1 million? Nope, we gotta buy Swartz
They don't
Creek.
have a dog. None of the departments have a dog. They have to go borrow the dog from the state police.
Yep.
See, so you're bringing up a lot of stuff that I don't think the elected officials currently are. They should be out there. They should be doing something like we do
Because
here.
I've gone out. I can't.
The problem is they don't listen to what the public is telling them. They go in there thinking, or they have their own priorities, but they're not listening to what the people want, or what their needs are, or either that, or they just. The other issue we've got is there's such a severe polarization in politics, where a Republican or a Democrat can go in with a proposal, but because the Republican proposed it, the Democrats are all going to vote against it.
Yeah.
And until we can somehow get everyone to work together on this, nothing is going to be accomplished.
That's it right there. I can work with anybody in any situation. I really hate politics. I do. When I win the election, I'm putting the politics behind me and I'm saying, okay, people, let's sit down and let's work. What's priority? And let's work. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever. You're still a person. This is just a title that we're running on to get where we're working at right now. Mm-hmm. So let's just drop the politics and let's work together, because being married as long as we have, that's how you stay married. You either do one or two things. You cooperate, learn to get along, or you, after a while, fight for so long, you go your own ways. You can't run a marriage that way. You've got to cooperate. And it's the same thing with running a government. And the way everything's been going, with the politicians and all these bad things that they've been doing. It just reminds me back in the day with kids. You got a couple kids that just won't knock off the squabbling. And you get to this point where you just want to knock their heads together and say, for the love of God, stop. Get along. Can't get along, go to your own corners until you can sit down and talk it out. That's how I feel about politics.
I was talking to Kenneth Andrews. He's running for the 1st district of Genesee County Commissioner. He was just here a couple days ago, and a lot of people have a tendency to. I think for local politics, you bring up a point that I think that should be fleshed out a little bit more. For local politics and the concerns, a lot of this posturing based upon political alliances is just absurd. It really is. I'm a Democrat, I got to do this. Well, not necessarily. Okay, you're worried about roads. What the H does a Democrat R or a D after your name have anything to do with addressing the real situation?
Which goes to that letter, or that lady, there's a lady who was a Democrat. She read my bio, was going crazy. She loved everything I had to say, everything that I stood for. And then somewhere...
all ready to vote for, until... she found out she was a Republican, so I can't vote for her.
No, she said, why the HR is she running as a Republican?
Well, see, I think that's more honest. If you're running and you're just trying to slip in, to the Democratic background, or whatever, you still have the values and beliefs for whatever. You're basically being duplicitous.
What changed? Everything I still believe in, everything that I'm still fighting for. What changed? Because there's an R instead of the D.
And I think there is a demonization going on that I don't think it's unrealistic or would be allowed. Anywhere else with any other group if you want to be an R, if you want to see how you can't see, it's like the N word. You can't because you got to say R word. And that's what it sounds like to me. And I think that's really stupid, especially when the local political level. It's just stupid. It should be based upon, here's like you were saying, it's basically like a household budget. Here's what we got, the income, we prioritize. Right. Why do you have to have the R&D after their names or whatever?
Exactly.
I think that's really
There's
stupid.
too many layers to the onions.
Yeah.
The other thing I was hearing this morning is that if you're a Republican, then basically you're the party of Trump. Trump is... It's not just a party anymore.
Yeah.
You're
either Democrat
if you're a Republican, then you totally support Trump, and if there's an issue with Trump you don't like, then I just can't go with you over one issue. But forget the national stuff. We got local problems right here that need to be dealt with.
And the names. Do you know what it's like to have to say, Alexa, what's the definition of xenophobia? Because I got called that, and I never bothered to look it up. But if you're going to call me a racist, I am far from a racist. As I kind of mentioned, I was married to a Mexican migrant worker.
Right.
I worked as a migrant, and I did happen to have some kids. They're just living their life somewhere else, and they are Hispanic.
Well, see, I think the word, it's interesting because I studied biology and stuff, and the word phobic means to avoid. For like certain things to be photophobic means avoids light.
So what's
xenophobic? Well, see, then they take the term phobic as it's used in psychology and say it's inordinate fear or exaggerated fear or or anger towards, which is not necessarily the case. And basically, if you have any opposition to what they're saying, you're they pathologize you, and I think it goes for both parties and both groups. No, some people have a real issue, like you're saying, we got to keep a lid on this. Then they translate to racist or xenophobic. No, it's pragmatic. We don't have enough money already, and you're asking us to expand it beyond our measure.
It hasn't got anything to do with race, color, creed, or religion. It's based on how much money do we have to take care of the issue at hand.
Right. So just the use of the term, the phobic, so that's always been kind of a pet peeve of mine, because phobia, actually, to have a question about something or not to want to see it manifested doesn't mean you fear it. You just don't think it's going to be fruitful or productive or intelligent. There's a vast, let's face it, driving drunk, I'd have a phobia to see people driving around drunk. But the reason why, because it results in, it's not a phobia, it's realization.
Exactly.
It's not exaggerated fear, it's a fact.
Exactly.
So that's what they try to do, is the potential for any harm that you might foresee. They're saying that's coming from your scary mind, and it's like, it's not necessarily the case. It's like anytime you have any kind of, who's going to take responsibility for this? Oh, now you're being you're being so like limiting, or you're being so like narrow-minded. That's another term I really find appalling.
Social issues are really out there too, and a lot of the Republicans basically are being very social. Well, I don't know how to explain this.
People are being politically prejudiced against Republicans.
But with any party, you're either going to be I class myself as not really a Republican. I'm more of a fiscal conservative, because a lot of my issues on the social side don't fall in line with what the Republicans want.
People make a big deal about Trump. In my opinion, he's such a representation of the Republican Party. I got a biography sitting right here. I think it's somewhere around here that actually details his life. He always belonged to the Democratic Party out there. So
he was.
And another thing is, if you actually want to look and say there's no hope for the third party candidate, Donald Trump was the third party candidate in this election. If you don't like him, let's be rational. He was even attacked by the party that he was now part of.
He still is.
He's still being attacked. So
see, I've said for a long time that we are ripe for a third party in this country right now. We just need someone to lead it, and we've never had one. The libertarians throw them out, but they're too far to the right in most people. That's why they stay away from them. Trump could easily sit there and start up a new party, and he probably would bring enough people, but I don't know if he could win. A third party is difficult to win in our two-party system.
Well, when I hear that my opponents on the left, the Democrats, are in favor of single-payer insurance, single-payer health insurance, and free education for all, I would be terrified.
It's the Bernie clause situation
that would definitely scare me as a voter.
If you go with everything that they're proposing, the free college, free health care, guaranteed wage for everybody, it would cost over $2 trillion, I think I read. And they were complaining, they haven't got any idea where the money's going to come from. When I think,
probably the
I don't know if they asked Bernie this, but they didn't have an answer. Well, we don't know where. We'll figure that out later.
Well, the simple fact too, though, I remember taking an economics class, and there's a thing called moral hazards, and somebody who gets insurance, they go through a rigorous process to get insurance for maybe health insurance. They got to make sure their blood cholesterol levels are low and all that stuff, so they can get in. But after they get in, it's guaranteed. Then they can start engaging in behaviors like smoking and drinking that might actually make them more of a risk factor. That's called the moral hazard, because basically now they're part of the thing, and now they're just doing activities and stuff that are putting them in much riskier behaviors, and they should be charged more for that. Well, if you have people who got guaranteed health insurance and health coverage, there could be an excuse, and I'm not saying they should excuse if you throw away the whole idea of, addressing healthcare issues, but I'm saying if you just go to the simple route of single payer, I'd like to know this: who's a single payer? Taxpayers. The very same people. So now
He says
Everybody.
Medicare for all. It's like, are you kidding?
Single payer. It's just like with Obamacare, is when that didn't do a single thing to lower the cost of health care.
No, it doesn't.
All it did is it forced different people to pay the bills. Everybody from doctors and hospitals, the insurance company puts it, the employers, and then there's some hidden taxes in there. Everybody else pays for it, but we never saw any real cut in the costs. I mean, you're still paying. I think when it started, my doctor visit was $100. Now it's $150.
They say never address the core issue. The thing is, too, they say the insurance thing. I had a friend who was a pharmacist right here in the neighborhood. And this is like 30 some years ago. I was a little bit more of an activist in my youth. And I was thinking maybe this single payer idea, socialized medicine, would be a good idea. Well, I talked to my parents. They were already against it. And, they were ahead of the curve, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I talked to a pharmacist. This was right in this neighborhood, and my parents had told me when he's waiting for insurance companies to pay, he's got to now have money to cover his overhead and operating expenses. Yeah. So that's the problem with all healthcare providers. They have to pay for the insurance and wait for the insurance to pay them, and that costs. And then so they got to get a credit line established. So that means that an added cost for their operation. So I don't see how that the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, actually ever even came close to addressing it. And another thing is, since congressmen and senators mocked anybody if we asked about did they read this, they're like mocking, like I read that document. You passed it. That's
Nancy
absurd.
Pelosi said you have to pass it before you can read what's in it.
Hundreds of pages, and then if you've actually read the bill, there's no way you could possibly understand it. I was talking about the bills, is that the budget. I've been trying to encourage people to play the budget roulette, where you download the budget that was proposed. In this case, the omnibus bill was like 1,700 pages. I said just download it. It's available on the internet. Pick a number between 1 and 1,700. Go to that page and try to figure out where your money just got spent on.
It's just like.
And I went to the one page for the Christopher Columbus Fund that was paying thousands of dollars for students that came up with some ideas. It sounds good, but that's not something we need.
All right.
And then there were several examples, but it was getting kind of crazy. But I just try to encourage people to try that, and that it'll open your eyes if you do. You see all this money that is just being wasted on
basically
stuff.
What it boils down to for both of us running for our positions is that something that everybody has, but not everybody uses it, or maybe don't even know how to use it. But that's common sense.
Right.
My platform, I have several different things in my platform: the water crisis, the opiate addiction, and everything that I have is firsthand experience. Plus, I don't know if I told you, I'm also fluent in Spanish. I am very bilingual,
which I think is a good thing for people wanting seeking office. I mean,
it is definitely a good thing, because there's Hispanic people in the community who don't speak English. During the time when the water crisis was announced, I was out there along with Jerry, carrying out cases of water, taking to people, going and speaking to people there was a lot of undocumented people, but at the time we said, look, we don't care about whether you're documented or not. Don't drink the Flint water. So I was able to communicate with the people, get their trust, and because now I'm running for this here, and I want people to know that it's because I care about the community.
Yeah, I'm talking to you before, and then during this conversation we've having now, and it just strikes me that you're the average. And I hate I don't want to consult you, so don't take it that way. But you're like the average people. I mean, you're people who actually are on the ground paying, bills, worry about paying bills.
We're your average middle class.
We're the
people.
Voice. We're not the politics. That's what we're trying to bring to Lansing and to local politics.
We're a married couple that knows how to stay married and won't work, so we can keep it together. We can help Lansing keep it together.
It's like the people in Lansing are no longer listening to what we're trying to tell them what we want. And they're saying, no, here's what you need. And they're just they're not following
You
anything.
never listen to me.
Well, let's not go into that now. That's for later. We'll wrap that up. We'll wrap this up, and you guys can have that conversation. But anyway, no, I think that people like I can encourage people to maybe contact you for the various outlets. And why don't we do that? Why don't we wrap this up? Because I know it's probably getting really warm in there yet, even with the air conditioner. But anyway, why don't we say why don't you tell out where you can be reached at, Jerry? How they can reach out to you?
They can always get me through my email at jcross, that's be JCROSS46 at comcast.net. And like I said, in about a month, I should have a much better web page and a more dedicated email. But you can always contact me through that, and I respond to every email. And once I get a business line, if you call me, if I don't answer, you will get a return call. I will be responsive to any questions that people ask.
And we got yours up here.
Yeah, you got mine up there.
www.friendsofsherrycross.org. And Michigan, it's you got a nice little. See, she hit the ground running. See,
I got everything put in back in December. I didn't just decide to jump into this. See, he got his paperwork the last day up.
The thing is, I think this, I'm the procrastinator, or a person who's unwilling to join in at first, so I can't really fault him on that. So
Well, I hate it when people complain, and it's like, look, instead of sitting in your derriere, get up off your nalgas and go ask I don't like the way things are going, so what can I do to help the community? What needs to get done?
Right, so not only are you bilingual, you're trilingual, so you just use that French word.
I do know a little bit of French, but nowhere near as much as my English and Spanish.
Well, we'll put that on the resume for you, okay?
Thank you.
Possibly trilingual. Anyway, Jerry and Sherry, it was really nice to have you guys in here.
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to maybe, if you guys do pull it off and can get elected, I encourage you to come into the studio
Oh, sure,
on a regular
love
basis
to.
and address the people. And that's, I think, they're talking about expensive government. Transparency, like what we're offering here, would be, it's not going to cost them anything. They just plop themselves in a chair and they can address the public, and we put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good idea, but I think they don't use it because they're too scared. Basically, they look at it as an illegal confrontation, the adversarial position. So anyway, but I thank you very much again for coming in, and
Thank you for having us.
I wish you guys, both of you, the best of the luck there. And
It's going to be fun.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see the outcome. So thank you very much.
Okay.